Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. Tonight, we have special guest Victor Dobro with us. And Victor has an interesting story, but he is on set right now. He's not an active police officer. Victor, thank you
No,
so
I am too.
Victor, thank you so much for being here with us. How's it going on
All right.
set today?
It's great actually, and I got to give you a little bit of correction though. I'm a police officer. I'm just not working in a police officer capacity right now.
Oh,
I'm
so you are
working
still
in
a
an
cop.
acting. Yeah, I'm a full-time police officer, but right tonight I'm an actor.
And you are filming, is it a TV show or a movie right now?
I keep accidentally referring to a film, but it's a television series. It's a horror television series. It tentatively working title is called The Clowns, and we're about 40% away through principal photography, basically knocking out all the hard parts. But we're located in Frederick, Maryland right now. But it's a great script. A 300-page script, 8 episodes. And it took me just a couple days to read through. And I'm acting as a police consultant on the set as well with the producers and directors.
That's awesome. So let's get to your story. You have a very interesting
Yep.
story. You're a cop, and you told me about a year ago you wanted to do acting. Now, this industry, as you're learning and are in it right now, is a very brutal industry. So, has it always been a passion of yours to do acting, or is it something recent that you wanted to try out?
Well, I mean, a little both. Honestly, I've always had a love for movies and shows. I just didn't know how to get into acting. I didn't know it was a thing. But at some point, I had some friends in where I used to work in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that were starting to get roles background and getting upgraded from background to principal on shows like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. But all these movies that they were filming out near Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I worked on a set of a few of them. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. But I had no connections. I didn't know how to get into it. But I just started making a few phone calls, really looking into it. And as a fan of the horror genre, just being a fan of the Friday the 13th series and all these other ones, a friend asked me to assist him with Roseblood, Friday the 13th fan film that
Yep.
just came out recently.
We had
So,
Peter Anthony as our guest.
yep. Yeah, that's who reached out to me. He knew I was a big fan, and my role changed a few times. But either way, I said, hey, whatever you want, I'm on board. I had no experience or anything, but I flew out from Maryland to basically Seattle, Washington, to help with that project. And now I still have a few lines, but they're going to be in the DVD. You're going to have to get the DVD, basically the special edition. But I only have a cameo appearance as my first really on camera. But from there, it went to, they were really looking specifically for police officers and military background for Walking Dead World Beyond CRM soldiers.
And you are
So,
in the season that just ended, season two,
yep,
the final
yep,
season of World Beyond. So tell us
yep.
about that. I mean, going from a fan film, which is great, onto the Walking
Mhm.
Dead universe is a completely different experience. Tell
Yeah,
us how
definitely
you
for
came
sure.
into that audition. How did you get the role?
That
Tell us
was
about it.
was really use the term featured background reoccurring, but other people say you don't use the word feature, the terminology featured background anymore. But that's really what it was. It was actually my wife just seeing some type of social media post and saying, hey, I don't know if you're interested. And I was like, oh, cool. So, I put in for that and Hulu's Dope Sick at the same time. And I never really expected a call back. I figured it'd be a one chance of a million or one in 100. And I figured, oh, they got probably plenty of people. And then I realized, just my police pictures and resume and being able to show that to background casting, they're looking for a soldier or a cop. I kind of fit the mold, you know, for that. So they called me and, filmed a few days and then, ended up getting picked up more and more. So then it really was all about just my availability. And I could tell you it's hard. Sometimes I'm working midnight shift in Maryland and, changing cars and clothes and then driving straight to the set for an early AM, call time.
Which is in
And
Richmond, and that is a
yeah,
haul. That's a haul
so
because I live in the DC area as well.
yeah,
That's a pretty big haul right there. Uh,
that's 2 hour drive each way every day I filmed. And then every day I didn't film, I was still driving down 3 days a week for COVID testing. And I tell people it's funny because AMC and Star Wars Productions paid me more for COVID testing than they did for actually filming.
So you get on this set, you're on The Walking Dead World Beyond. What was that experience like?
It was great. First real, union set. I learned a lot. And as far as who I interacted, and actually it's funny, is one of my partners, a fellow CRM soldier, John Luderman, is here on set of the film or the TV series we're filming right now. So I'm learning about the whole networking, and it's really great. But I was pretty much in a lot of episodes with, I think it was episode 8, but I'm with Robert Palmer Watkins, so Lieutenant Frank Newton, and we're pretty much attached to his side as like I call it the dignitary protection team. But of course, there's some scenes where he's branching off, and then for people that haven't seen the series, but that's, he shouldn't have, I told him he should have never left my side in that finale. He would have been fine. But no, it was great. I learned a lot just watching, and I didn't know because I'm just self-trained, taking acting classes and stunt classes, just self-trained. And there's people I work with in scenes like these guys have trained like at schools and colleges and have theater background, and I don't have any of that. Yep. So I'm just I'm being myself as a police officer, and I'm just adding maybe just a little bit of twist to it. Or, I could play, the soldier roles and stuff like that. So I'm just adding a little bit of twist to it. But I learned so much. I didn't know that. I thought you had to memorize all your lines for your whole episode or for the whole movie. And so when I saw that, you basically, sometimes for Walking Dead, we would take all day to shoot one scene. All day, just the multiple angles. And I was like, wow, there's so many angles. And I was like, I think I might be able to do this. I might be able to memorize enough lines to get through one day of filming. So that's the life of a day player.
So what are your impressions being in the entertainment industry for about a year now of this industry? I mean, I got to say, your story is not that dissimilar from mine. I'm approaching 2 years of doing this, and it's been a crash course every day for me. I'm lucky enough to where every day I get to talk to filmmakers and actors, and the questions that I ask them are real questions. It's stuff that I want to know, and I'm learning every day about this industry. So I'm almost 2 years in, and if you're not in this industry, and when you come in, it's a completely different world. How have you found the adjustment?
It's crazy. I'm learning a lot. And what's funny is I have 10 months experience, but I'm giving my experience and what I think I'm doing right or wrong to other actors with just as much experience, maybe more, maybe less. But we're all learning off each other. And I really like it. I have 4 more years as a police officer till I can retire, and I would like to do this maybe full time. Right now, I don't want to take anything away from trained full-time working actors. But I treat it like a hobby, and it's a release for me, the stress, having fun. You're living in fantasy, and just doing something. And I want to see basically how far can I go? Can I do this? Do I like this? And really my primary interest was as a police and tactical consultant. So I was it Lily May in episode 8, just direct a little bit of a scene that I was in, and she appreciated it. And then she told the background casting that she appreciated it. And so that felt nice, but I didn't realize that most background actors weren't going to get any credit for any work. And I didn't realize how some background actors are treated on some sets. Yeah. So, there's parts of the industry I really like, and I'm very fortunate and appreciative and humble, and I'm loving, a lot of it. But I can tell you one day on a union project, being treated poorly by PAs, production assistants, as a background. But then the very next day, I'm a principal character on another show by the same channel, and then they're asking me can they take my order for breakfast? And I have a trailer, and everyone's very nice and polite. And I didn't change as a person. I'm the same person from one day to the next. It's just how the production, different people in the system are looking at it. And so I want to try to break that and say, hey, if you hear someone yelling and treating people poorly, maybe speak out, because it's not fair. We got to bridge the gap between background and A-list actors that are flown in and paid millions of dollars
And what
somehow.
you're describing is not just exclusive to what happens on the set. Same
Yeah,
thing that's similar with me when I was starting out and I was reaching out to guests. They're like, I didn't say it exactly, but the overall feel was, who the hell are you? You know?
yeah,
And as your guest list grows and you get more and more, famous people, you start being treated differently.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
really unfair. And,
Right.
you know, it's so spread out throughout this entire industry. And I do believe you're right. If enough people do come together and speak out about it, I think some change can at least start to happen. This
Yeah.
industry there's a lot of twists and turns. And I know when I got into it, I was just blown away by some of the stuff that I learned. But at the end, uh, we do it because we love it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, and there's this thing.
It should be fun. Yeah.
I don't know if you've experienced this, but it's called the imposter syndrome. Now, actors who have been doing this for decades still experienced it, where they are on set, they're getting paid lots of money, they're having fun, and even themselves, being veteran actors, um, ask themselves, wow, do I really belong here? And
Yeah,
it's
right.
called the
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. And everybody who's in this business has gone through it or is going through it at one point or another. And that's where just self
Yeah.
confidence comes in. Self
Oh, it's big.
confidence comes in and say, yeah, you know what? I do belong here. I do
You're
belong
right.
here. I did something right and I earned my spot here. So you said you are 4 years away from retiring as a police officer. Uh,
Sir.
Law enforcement, in your heart, is it like near and dear to you? Do you love being a cop?
It's all I've known for like how many years? 23 years. But
Wow.
I'm kind of ready for it to be over. To be honest with you, I mean, it's bringing the stuff to the programs, to the shows. But yeah, like it's a natural progression of an officer's career. I tell, because I was, I'm a lieutenant, and I was in the academy. I was on the SWAT team and all these different positions as a training officer. But you go through these progressions as a rookie, and you see it in Hollywood and TV. They kind of show you things like Southland with Michael Kudlitz. I told him, I met him. I said it's a great show
Mm-hmm.
that he did on that. But that's kind of realistic. The old grumpy field training officer and the deer in the headlights rookie,
Yeah.
and then everything that goes with that. But the progression of, I would do this job for free, and then you think you're gonna change the world, and then you realize you can't, and then you realize there's a lot of paperwork and there's a lot of headaches, and then you get into this natural progression of a career. By the time a cop reaches the end of his career, he's done. Or
Yeah.
some kind, or they just they stay another 5 years, or they don't know what to do. A lot of cops don't know what to do, and the stress and it takes the toll on the body. So you got to get out of it healthy, and still be able to enjoy some of your retirement,
And not
and make it to that point.
that's not even to mention the mental health and trying
Oh
to,
yeah, oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
We
mean,
all we all we all have those problems and issues, and yeah.
so,
I mean, we have
so
we
when
have
you're on set
yep.
as a an advisor, okay, how important is it to you to really bring authenticity to how police are portrayed, whether it's a television show or a film?
I do, and I'm still in the learning phase, but I've done script review, script analysis. I've worked with actors. It's kind of frustrating, because budget comes into it, and time, and the industry and scenes are kind of rushed. You may not have as much rehearsal time, practice time, but ideally, I would like to take an actor and sit with them and train them how to hold a gun, how to look like he's really shooting, how to move, and how to talk, and it comes down to how much time does production have for you to go over that stuff.
Yeah,
It's frustrating, because I can tell you, I mean, helping out, I can catch this, I can catch that, but now we have to hurry up and film. So like, I got to make sure their equipment's looking right, that we're making correct movements. But maybe there's no time to make this one adjustment. Maybe there's and people don't necessarily know that they have to ask me. That's the one thing. It's a niche in the industry that people don't realize they really need. Um, and maybe they don't, but something like if you have the wrong insignia upside down on an officer's shirt, or if you got the wrong equipment, it doesn't look right. And like maybe the casual fan doesn't know, but you want to bring as much authenticity as you can to really help with that suspended disbelief of the storyline, I guess. But but you also have to bring them together. And I'll give you a quick example. If you want to be realistic, a SWAT team van is never going to pull up to the front door of a house or apartment or building. Or, you break into let's say an abandoned mall, and we pull up, with their vehicles right in front of the front doors, because that's how the scene is blocked in the camera. You want to show the cop cars and the cops jumping out of the car. Mm-hmm. But realistically, a police officer would never pull directly in front of a store. And so, like, I can't tell, like, a director, like, oh, that shot's not going to work, or I'm not going to be a part of that because that's going to look bad, and my coworkers are going to tease me. I have to tell them, and they do ask, okay, is that realistic? Does that look good? What do you think? So I have to be respectful, and I have to really figure out, okay, what are you looking for in the shot? Do you want to see the officers in their cars jumping out? Do you want to get it in frame? Do they have to be in frame first? So I have to basically marry the two of real police work and what Hollywood wants to show or what they're looking for. And when it comes down to it, the producers and the executive producers will overrule any military attack. I mean, we had a Navy SEAL training us for 80 hours on Walking Dead.
Wow.
And it was great. And he was awesome. He was my best friend on set.
Because and that's where, as a fan, when we as fans sit down to watch a movie, as a fan, that's where the element of suspension of disbelief comes in. Okay.
Yeah.
For the director, for the producer, if it's an action sequence, they want to build up the action. They don't want to do it like they really do it in real life, where the cops go in stealth from the back and try to not be noticed until the last minute. They want the whole flash and bang. Cops pull up, lights blaring, the SWAT truck pulls up to the front, they jump out, they take down the building, and it makes you appreciate like people like Stephen Pochko. I mean, he's the guy who created like NYPD Blue, Hill Street Blues, and the amount of time that he took in getting the right people on set to make sure, like for NYPD Blue, like the NYPD is portrayed properly and realistically. And I love that show. And part of the reason why I love that show is because it doesn't put cops and make them look all glamorous and cool, flashing a badge and everything just falls into place. It shows you a real life depiction of what a cop's life is really like. And the truth of the matter is, you guys go out there, you put your lives on the line every day. You don't know what each day is going to bring. And it's hard. It takes a toll on you physically and mentally. As you look back on your career as a cop, do you have any regrets, or are you just thankful and you're glad at the career that you started out with?
Well, I'm blessed with my health so far. And I've worked for a few different agencies. And I've had as much experiences. I've had so much training, more training than anyone else I know. So I'm blessed. I was on a SWAT team. I was an academy instructor. And now I'm going through the ranks, at the very tail end of my career. And just want to be able to keep my health and make it out alive and safe and enjoy that retirement. But you're talking about the realism. I got to let you know, being on the HBO Wheel in the City was my first SAG principal role. I have 3 scenes. I'm in 2 episodes, but I got to meet John Berthal as a fan 6 years ago at a Walking Dead convention, and I took a selfie with him. And then I caught him again in the makeup trailer.
I saw that picture of you on your IMDb profile. Yeah.
And I think I scared him, but I had to tell him, like, hey, I'm Detective John Kluel, and then he's like, oh. And I showed him the selfie and I said, hey, can you mind if we could take another selfie so we can like show the before after? And he thinks it's a great, because he kind of remembered the day. It was his birthday, and they were, he was done with autographs, and I ran up and they were about ushering him out. And then he saw me and he stopped his handlers from waving me off, and he brought me up there to sign his Walking Dead, books or Punisher. He was cast for Punisher, but he hadn't even, I don't know if he had filmed yet. but real good guy. So I got to
Oh yeah.
film with those guys on We Own the City, and real gracious that I booked my first Zoom audition ever as an actor.
John
And
Barenthal, who of course played
yeah,
Shane in the first two
yeah,
seasons of The Walking
oh
Dead.
yeah,
Great guy.
yeah,
I haven't had the chance to talk to him yet. I hope to talk to him one day soon. But
yeah.
all the stories you hear about John is he's just a great guy to be around and
Oh
to
yeah,
work with,
everybody loves him.
and
Yeah,
he's a true professional. As
but
your
that show, they did so many. They had police consultant. They got it realistic, and the director Ronaldo Marcus Green is great if you watch his other work. And what I like, and I told him they're really going to like this because it's the same producers as The Wire, that HBO show, that series that lasted forever. They're realistic. They show both sides of it. They show like what an average police officer be thinking and saying and doing, and then maybe how some of the public is looking at police officers
yeah.
nowadays. That's going to appeal to a lot of people, just like The Wire did. It was a really good show.
Now being both a cop and now in front of the camera working as a advisor as well, what film television show have you seen that what they got it right? That's how cops, federal agents, whatever, that's how they really are. Is there anyone
Well,
that really
yeah.
pops out in your mind?
There are several, and like I think I just mentioned the Southland with Michael Kudlitz.
Mm-hmm.
So I met him at a convention, and I was just a fan. I wasn't even in acting yet. I shook his hand, and a lot of these actors, they look at me like, "You look familiar. Do I know you?" I said, "No, sir." And then they see my haircut, and they're like, "You in the military?" I'm like, "No." And then the next question, "Are you a cop?" Or
Yeah.
they ask me what I do, and I tell them I'm a cop. So then Michael Kudlitz and Danny Trejo, there's so many celebrities. They're like, "Oh, you're a police officer." They give me an extra autograph. They take more pictures. They don't charge extra for pictures or whatever, and they're really really like nice people. But I told Michael Kudlitz, gave me an extra autograph and everything, and I said, your portrayal, even though his character as an field training officer was kind of mean and nasty and veteran and controversial maybe at times, it's pretty realistic.
Michael
And then
Cudlitz.
yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go on.
yeah,
No, I was going to
Sergeant
say.
Abe, yeah,
I was just going to say about Michael Cudlitz. Michael Cudlitz was one of our beginning guests, and
oh,
he
yeah,
just came on. And that is like what started the snowball going. He was one of
oh,
the most genuine, nicest people you
oh
will
yeah,
ever meet. He's just a great person, a great actor. You can put him in any role and he can pull it off. Like he can be Abraham, with his,
yeah,
one-liners in The Walking Dead. And then
mm,
recently he was in Clarice, playing a totally different character. When it does come time and you're sitting down with these actors one on one, and directors are not there, the producers are not there, it's just you and the actors. Uh, do you find that the actors are very engaged in what you're trying to teach them?
yes, and they'll ask me for help before I can say hello. On this set, I'm meeting people, and they hear that I'm a police officer. It's my first day on set, and I had multiple actors run right up to me and ask me a million questions, ask me to get with them to show them, like, how would an officer talk? How would this officer talk? Like, how is my guy? What do you see my guy as? And that's awesome because now I'm having like creative like input and how an actor should portray his cop role. And they're every cop role, they're not all the same.
No.
So okay, you're a bad cop, you're a good cop, but they're asking for almost all of the actors I've ever interacted with are going to seek that out. Most of them almost all of them are going to be receptive to feedback and direction. But then I still have to understand, like, you got to let them make their creative choices. And then some actors, they're just in their zone. They don't want to be told necessarily, what to do and stuff. I'm not gonna say who, but I had an actor miss his cue on one of my scenes, and I politely asked him if he was gonna shrug his shoulders, because he hadn't in the one or two rehearsals, and he looked at me and said, "What? Huh? What do you mean?" So I was like, I wasn't gonna say, "Hey, didn't you read the script? You're supposed to shrug your shoulders." So I was like, well, it's just a little bit more difficult for me, and that's a little bit of the culture too. As a day player, you're having to adjust for maybe the other series regulars. You have to adjust to them, and acting, obviously, it's all interaction. It's how you interact. It's not just deliver my line at this time. It's the human interaction, which is really what the camera's trying to capture.
What did you think when you got
So
on, going back to the World Beyond and just those CRM uniforms? I mean,
I could tell you stories. They're custom made. They cost $3,500. They're very tight fitting, and it's very hot. We had one CRM soldier that passed out of heat exhaustion in one of those scenes in the woods,
oh,
where we have those zombie dog catchers, and it's like a flashback scene. We lost one of our CRM, and she was healthy and came back. But she was one of my best friends on set to work with. But I lost 40 pounds in a year, and I attribute at least 35 pounds while filming Walking Dead World Beyond, because I really ate healthy on set and I sweat a lot. Mm-hmm. And I told myself I have to lose 5 pounds to be able to fit into this outfit. And 5 pounds turned into, 35, 40 pounds. So I think I look different from the day I started, and they fitted me to like my last day.
Would you say,
so I just got,
would you say that the Walking Dead universe to date has been the biggest budget thing that you have done?
It's definitely the biggest your franchise. This is now 3 different series, and I guess CRM is the only one that's been on all 3 series. Mm-hmm. Even though it gets confusing with timelines and stuff.
They do that. They do that intentionally. They want to keep people guessing as far as the timelines go.
Yeah, everyone just kept asking me about Rick and Rick. When's Rick coming back? What did you do with Rick? I mean, I got fans. I literally have fans across the world asking me, and they know. I mean,
me too.
When are we going to see Rick? What did you do with Rick? And I tell some of them, I said, we'll deliver Rick when the CRM soldiers get the proper on-screen credit.
Oh my God, that takes me back.
Background didn't get any credit. The stunt coordinator got no credit. The military advisor got no credit. And I didn't realize that was kind of a thing. Like most productions, most shows. I'm not sure about movies. I was in Don't Look Up. It's in the theaters. I don't know if my scene is visible or if I'm visible. So maybe I got to wait till it hits Netflix in a couple days. But that's like my first, big budget movie, I guess. And that was pretty cool.
So for people wanting to get into acting, you would recommend, go in, start out as a stand-in, background, and work your way up? Or would you say get some training?
Both. Do everything. You really have to promote yourself, get as much training. But every actor's, we met a guy, my friend who's a actor from Europe. Was getting a rental car for him today, and the guy said, "Well, how'd you get into acting, both you guys?" And I looked at him. I said, "Everyone's path's different. Mm-hmm. So it depends on where you're at in life, what kind of schooling you have. You got to start somewhere." And I'm all self-taught almost on YouTube. I mean, I taught myself how to drag race basically off of YouTube.
Oh.
But you talk to people, and networking is very, very important. It's crucial. Some people say the first thing you have to do is get headshots. I booked a lot of roles with no professional headshots. Mm-hmm. So you can't just say that that's the route, headshots, and then you have to find an agent. An agent is like really the last thing you need as an actor, just to take you maybe to the next level. But depending on where you're at in life and in training, but you obviously start training, do whatever you can do, start volunteering. Really, most people in the industry will tell you do the not fan films, but the short films, mm-hmm. The 48-hour. I did a 48-hour fan film. I'm sorry, just a 48-hour film festival for Washington, D.C. But get into anything you can just for the experience, and then learn, and then you just take it one step at a time. And I tell you, all my friends that were on Walking Dead, World Beyond, some of them have ambitions to do more acting, some don't, some can't because of their job. I'm very fortunate. I can, kind of take days off here or there, but everyone's kind of different. And so, success doesn't happen overnight, but I put in people don't see a lot of the work actors put in,
Oh yeah.
really off screen to get to that point. But I tell people, hey, you could become an expert in almost anything you put your heart and desire to, and just push, do a little bit of something every day to get towards the goal of where you want to go. And 10 months later, a year later, then be able to look at your accomplishments.
And I
I mean,
totally agree with you when it comes to
yeah,
networking. That is just so crucial,
yeah,
especially if you're looking to get started. Unless you already know or have a family member who works at a
yeah,
studio or whatnot, networking is one of the most important things. And you're right, you get the agent when you are ready to go, basically.
yeah.
So I totally agree with you. Victor, wow, this has been a fascinating chat. How many more days, if we can ask, do you have left on that set before your scenes are up?
Well, because what's uh, shooting out of sequence, I still have a pickup scene, another two minor scenes, and then one cool scene. So I'm thinking maybe 4 days. I had to tell my wife, I said, hey, look, I promise I only got a few more days of filming next month. Um, but if you can call it a co-star if you want, we got a lot of good
Be
actors.
careful with that wife thing. I said that to my
Yeah,
wife 2 years ago, and here we are two
right.
years later.
I do like staying busy. But yeah, just a few like pickup days and few scenes. So my schedule loosened up, but I had to basically stop working overtime at my police job in order to become more available. For the to keep an open schedule really for shooting. And you got to be flexible with
Yeah.
filming,
And
and they're always changing.
another thing
Yeah,
people need to understand is just because your job puts you in front of a camera does not mean you're automatically rich. Okay, a lot of people
no,
have a lot of people have a misconception that if you're on TV, well, you must be rich.
yeah,
No, that
no.
is like
I,
the complete opposite.
I'm taking a pay cut. I
Yeah.
tell people I'm taking a pay cut, but you got to do the grind, the 2 hour
Hmm.
drive to Richmond every day for a background role you're not going to get credit for the experiences alone. Like I said, I worked with Robert Palmer Watkins, a lot, and he didn't teach me everything I know, but he gave me some inside tips and a really nice guy. And just having like actors treat you like regular humans and interacting with you, and some actors don't interact with you if your backgrounds, some may not, some are in their zone.
And that
You
really
know,
comes down to personality more than
yeah,
anything.
sure. And that's like
People,
anything. Yeah.
yeah, personality. Some people sort of, I don't know.
But yeah, I'm having a great time, and the money, if it comes, it comes. But I'm doing really laying, what do you call it, the brickwork, or laying the
Exactly.
foundation to get there, and the networking. And I tell people the networking's not a bad thing, because people say, well, it's all who you know, they say it with a negative connotation.
Yeah.
But I can tell you right now, the people working behind me on set, there's at least a half dozen, maybe a dozen people that are working right now because they networked with me. And like I reached out to them because they're friends of a friend, or
Hmm.
I saw a little bit of their work. And that's not a bad thing. If you can,
No.
whether you call it vouching for someone, but you're helping people
Yeah.
that you think would be good in a role. And if they want the role, sure. If they get it, great. If they don't, they don't. But we're helping each other. I just,
And this
they're attacked.
industry is not as big as people think it is. Word does
Yeah,
get around, and networking is so vital. Word does spread. And
yeah.
it's just, oh man, I just cannot overstate the importance of just getting out there, getting to meet people, and then having those people introduce you to other people, and
I
so
see it
on.
working right now. It's so big. It's helping me, and that's why some people may worry about competition, telling people about roles or telling people about what's going on, and that's unfortunate, because I think they're really limiting. I find more, I find it better to give than to receive, as far as and it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Basically it's karma. But the networking I've given has helped other people. And then I was on FaceTime hours ago with a great A-list actor from the Saw franchise, and he's just FaceTiming and just saying hello to a guy. And then now I'm going to be working in a project with them, and then
Wow.
he's helping with production, or he's going to be helping with distribution on a project that I'm attached to. So like that came out of the blue. It's
Yeah.
because of meeting somebody or talking to somebody else. And I would say, always be open to, like, what do you call them, friend requests, and follow people on social media, and interact with them, engage them, and build your tree out, male or female. And then the networking is just is huge.
And I got to, I'm going to
That's
share
great.
our story on how we met because I have the deepest respect. You reached out to me, and it was really during the mid to end November where we were just slammed with guests. And I said, I'd love to have you on, uh, but I'm going to reach back out to you in mid December. Now, when I wrote that, I knew how that would be interpreted. Like, okay, he's going to forget about me. Because that's how this
Oh, not at
industry. No,
all.
no, 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 no. It's not bad.
Yeah,
It's not bad.
yeah,
But that's how you get trained on how this industry works. But I never forgot about you. And then once the schedule, the first week and two of December lighten up, I'm like, I gotta email Victor. I want to
yeah.
get him on the show. I want to hear his story
No,
because
yeah, I
everybody
appreciate it.
is important, and I totally respect the way you reach out and just how you do business. And you and I share the same philosophy on how some things need to be changed and whatnot. So I totally respect that. And I loved
Yeah, I
having
appreciate
you
it.
on this show. I think that was
Yeah,
great.
great.
You shared some excellent information with us. And I wish you nothing but the best of
Yeah,
luck. I
great.
think you're
You
going to
too.
succeed. And when
Thank
retirement
you.
does come from the force in 4 years from now, and you can pursue this full time, you know, I tell everybody now, never say never. You never know what's
Oh
going to
yeah,
happen. So,
yeah. Everyone's path's different, and I'm just been blessed, and I'm enjoying the ride.
absolutely. Victor, thank you so much for coming on here, sharing your story.
Right,
And I do
great. Thank
definitely
you.
want to bring you back at some point so we can
Yeah, sure.
talk about progress and just see where you're at.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
I want to give a big thanks to Victor. Thank you to our audience who tuned in tonight. Till next time, guys, stay safe. And on behalf of Victor, Dobro, and myself, stay walking. Good night, everybody.